Buongiorno, welcome back to my channel. Today is another episode of testing hyped up niche fragrances. This is the follow-up of my previous one, episode 5, where I went through some quite hyped up fragrances and told you my first impression. Today is the follow-up, so the full review, and I'm going to share with you my final thoughts about these fragrances, which one worked for me, which one would I recommend, and which one I don't. So if you want to watch the first impression or any other episode of this series, I will leave the playlist linked down below in the description, and you will also find it in the eye up here. And without further ado, let's start. I am going to rank the list from my least favorite to my favorite one. So on number 12, as a fragrance that I would never recommend, is Adaptique L'Ombre dans l'eau. Just avoid this fragrance. It's really bad. It's a fresh rose, but it's very green like in the sense that you get the twigs, you get the leaves, you get maybe a little bit of some dead flowers. Very authentic smelling, I would say that, but it's just, for me, a fragrance that I would never recommend. This scent profile is not for everybody. I mean, I would say very few people will enjoy this scent profile, in my opinion. So don't be fooled by that it is a fresh rose, that there is black currant. It's mostly cassis that I get, not blackcurrant, and it's not sweet at all. Very naturalistic, garden-smelling rose fragrance with the bad smells included. So that one is a fail for me, L'Ombre dans l'eau. Next is Vanille Apricot from Comptoir Sud Pacifique. This is practically vanilla, apricot, and sugar. It smells like a fresh baked apricot pie, but synthetic. It smells cheap. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It smells quite cheap. Very sweet and gourmand. So I would say it's a scent profile that gourmand lovers will definitely enjoy. And it's not a brand that is extremely expensive. Actually, it's quite affordable for a niche brand, but it smells even cheaper than that, if that makes any sense. So I just can't recommend this fragrance. I will have to say, however, that in the dry down, I enjoyed it more than in the opening. But overall, it's just too synthetic. And even for the amount of money, that is not much, that they are charging for this one, I wouldn't pay that amount of money for this. It it promises like great longevity and sillage in the opening because it's quite strong, but it is overall a moderate longevity and sillage. So yeah, for me, this is just not worth it. Would not recommend this fragrance. Next is Juliet Has A Gun Lipstick Fever. Yes, another fail from Juliet Has A Gun. The name is quite fitting for this fragrance. It's mostly iris and violet and mixed with raspberry, so a fruity touch. It's powdery, it's fruity. And it is a scent profile that a lot of people would enjoy. However, I would not recommend this fragrance because of the longevity and sillage, and also it's, to me, not blended very well. The violet leaf is too much. It smells like a lipstick my mother would wear. So like the smell of old school lipsticks in a way. And I don't like this fragrance at all. It's a little bit harsh. The violet leaf has an edge. And although there is a sweetness from the raspberry, it's not synthetic. So overall, this is a flop. And although a scent profile that people would enjoy, I wouldn't recommend this one. Next will be a shock because this is quite a loved fragrance from Jo Malone, and it is Mir Tonka. I can't recommend this fragrance. I'm so sorry. This is quite a simplistic fragrance. Like all Jo Malone fragrances, generally speaking, are quite simplistic. It opens up with a harsh note of lavender. However, it does settle down and it becomes a Tonka bomb. Just extremely dusty. The mirror is more in the background and does shine through like after an hour or so. There is no warmth, no sweetness here. So I don't know, I don't like this fragrance at all. It's dusty to the point that I want to like scratch my nose. This is what I don't like with Tonka fragrances, when it's extremely dusty like this one. Overall, I wouldn't recommend it unless you are a Tonka lover. And I mean you love Tonka, not sweet Tonka. Because to me, if that fragrance had maybe a little bit of benzoin, some vanilla, it would have been better. But to me, it's too simplistic and too dusty. On Fragrantica, as I mentioned, there is almond here. I don't get any almond. However, it has a great performance, by the way. So it is long-lasting and has, I would say, moderate projection. Yeah, moderate to strong if you overspray. But that fragrance with 2 sprays, I was already like itching and wanted to scratch my nose. So I don't know. Yeah, unless you are like a strict Tonka lover, I wouldn't recommend this fragrance. Next is Umbra Calabria from Nicheperfumes. Now, this is not a fragrance that I hate or say it's a fail. But given the price tag, I don't know, it's not special enough for me to recommend it. It's an aromatic, spicy fragrance, quite fresh, summer appropriate fragrance, definitely masculine. I can't see this as a unisex fragrance. It's too green, too aromatic, a lot of galbanum, and I personally hate galbanum. And it does have an ambery sweetness, kind of a sweetness, something warm and sweet, but it is very in the background, which makes this fragrance quite unique and beautiful. But again, for the price tag, yeah, this is a pass for me. Wouldn't say that it is worth the hype that this one gets. And has also moderate longevity and sillage, which is not bad for the scent profile. So overall, I just can't recommend it. They are comparing it to L'Ombre de Merveille from Hermès. I just can't get the similarity between the two, because L'Ombre de Merveille is much more ambery. It does have a little bit of this fresh ginger, I think it was, note, but they do not compare, honestly. So yeah, that was Umbra Calabria from Nicheperfumes. Next one will be a shock because it's a loved fragrance, like big love for this fragrance on the fragrance community, and it is Naxos from Xerjoff. I just don't like it. Would I recommend it? Yes, actually, but I personally don't like it, and I find it quite overhyped in a way. It's, yeah, it doesn't deserve so much hype. Not that it is a bad fragrance, and I wouldn't mind smelling a man wearing this fragrance, but it's just not mind-blowing to me. I don't get the hype behind it. It's too much lavender, I think. There is a little bit of sweetness because there is honey, there is a spicy touch because of the cinnamon, the tobacco, of course, but it's not my favorite tobacco. I wouldn't say even it's the best tobacco, and I don't know, I've tested it on paper, tested on my skin. I don't get much of warmth out of this fragrance, so it could be a personal issue. A lot of people said they get this warmth and the dry down on their skin. I don't get any at all. I just get an overdose of lavender that remains for a long time. So yeah, for me that was a fail, but I wouldn't say that it is a bad fragrance. And in the price tag, yes, if you can get it on a deal, it's a nice fragrance. And for me, it's definitely masculine. I know a lot of women wear this one, but to me, it's totally masculine. Next is Bond number 9, Central Park West. I honestly was between Naxos and this one, so I may change my mind in the future. For now, it's here. And this is a white floral bomb. This is not for the faint of heart. It's very strong white floral, a lot of gardenia. Gardenia here is an overflow, and it's a little bit old-fashioned gardenia. It opens up very indolic, strong, with a lot of green, like the green touch that gardenia has, in like an overdose. But it does have a balmy, rounded edge to it. It reminded me a lot actually in the opening of Narcotic V from Nasomato. That fragrance I absolutely hate, can't stand. It reminded me a lot of that one, but it does have this balmy effect that maybe comes from Ylang Ylang, I don't know, that makes it a little bit tolerable. I did not enjoy this fragrance in the opening. However, I would say in the dry down, it does get better. The greenness really is then toned down and it's more of a balmy white floral. And I would say this is a fragrance that I would recommend over Narcotic V, because in my opinion, Narcotic V is not blended well at all. Like, yeah, it's a matter of taste, guys. Narcotic V for me is just no, 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 no. This one, however, they are not very similar, but I would say if you love if you love Narcotic V, you will also enjoy this one, and I prefer this one. It's just more complex, more well-rounded overall. So it's a fragrance that I would not recommend in general, but if you love Narcotic V or you love these kind of fragrances, yeah, then check this one. It has also amazing performance, by the way, very long lasting and quite projecting strong. So this is why I said it's not for the faint of heart. The white floral is really strong and not for everybody. So that was Central Park from Bond number 9. Next is Jeroboam Umbra. And this is one of the fragrances that I would say you have to wait for the dry down. The opening I was not a fan of. Very, very balsamic. There is a lot of Peru balsam here and also incense. I would say these are the two predominant notes. And it's definitely masculine leaning. Generally speaking, balsamic fragrances I feel are not very feminine. There is also vanilla in this fragrance, but the vanilla comes out really late, like after an hour. I enjoy this fragrance more because the vanilla comes through with a little bit of warmth and sweetness, but it will remain a balsamic fragrance in my opinion. So yeah, although the vanilla is here, it has this bite from the balsamic, from Peru balsam, and it has a little bit of a smoky touch of the incense. Overall, it's a fragrance that I would recommend, but for men. And it's not mind-blowing, to be honest. But I mean, I saw the prices and it's an extrait de parfum and it does have a good performance. I would say yes, if you are a man, this is a good option. And I imagine that this is a good also fragrance for layering because it's not overly complex, so you can layer it with other fragrances. So that was Umbra from Jeroboam. Next, we have a win in my book, and it is Lilac Love from Amouage. As you can see, I got myself a bottle. I love this fragrance. This is a predominantly lilac fragrance, but it has, like all this series, a gourmand touch in it. So in the notes they mention cacao, and to be completely honest, I don't get a lot of cacao. I just get lilac. I get also a little bit of maybe tonka bean, vanilla, more floral notes. I know there is gardenia and jasmine, but it's mostly about the lilac here. It has also heliotrope, which makes it a little bit powdery, and it's quite creamy in a way. And I don't know from where this creaminess that this fragrance has comes from, because reading the notes, there is nothing that would give that effect. Maybe sometimes gardenia in certain ways can be almost like a creamy scent. So maybe gardenia, but yeah, if you love lilac, which I know is not a flower that everybody loves. So if you love lilac, check this fragrance. Absolutely stunning, very, very good performance and very suitable for winter. So it's one of the rare floral fragrances that you can wear during winter. It will cut through the cold. It will remain on your skin almost for the whole day. So yeah, no complaints when it comes to performance always with Amouage fragrances. So if you love that note, this is for you. If you are not into lilac, avoid it. If you saw my recap of 2 years of testing hyped up niche fragrances, you will know what fragrances are coming next. So I would say this episode was quite successful. As you can see, I have 1 fragrance, and the next 3, all of them made it to the list of that episode, and that says a lot. So number 3, Italica from Xerjoff. Now you all know I'm not a gourmand lover, but this fragrance is just stunning, and I see the hype behind it. It's definitely worth the hype, worth the money in my book, for sure. This smells like toffee, almonds, a little bit lactonic. It's almost as if you are warming toffee with a little bit of milk and a lot of vanilla in a pot. So it's like bubbling and the smell is coming out. It's delicious, and it doesn't change. With a lot of gourmand fragrances, they do have a woody base that will come through and maybe take over in the dry down. This one doesn't. It remains like that. It's an edible fragrance. This is, to me, what gourmands should be like. An edible fragrance. Highly recommended, but it is very sweet. So this is for strictly gourmand lover out there. Will I personally buy this fragrance? Absolutely not, but I would highly recommend it. Great performance, great smell. So, I mean, I can see the hype, so I would highly recommend it. Italica from Xerjoff. If you love gourmands, if you love toffee, almond, vanilla, you want to smell like something you can eat, this is the one to get. Italica from Xerjoff. It's the best. Number 2 is Mancera Cidra Bove. This fragrance just blew me away. And it's very strange because I don't know what is it about this fragrance that is so beautiful. It has one of the most beautiful sillage ever. So I liked this fragrance on myself. But if you spray it on someone else and you smell it in the air, it's intoxicating. It's just stunning. There is something about it that is utterly beautiful in the air, especially. It has a little bit of synthetic note, I have to admit. So it has like a fruity sweetness in it. And this fruitiness is almost candy-like. This is why I'm saying it's quite synthetic. But it is mixed with fresh notes and aromatic notes. And like the end result is just amazing. Mostly it's lemon, cedar, this candy-like fruity sweetness. So good. It is unisex, but it does lean masculine. So I was actually thinking about getting this fragrance myself, but it just has a lot of cedar in it. The cedar really and vetiver combined makes it too masculine for my personal taste, but yeah, it's unisex, I would say. So Cidra Boisée from Mancera. Next fragrance I absolutely adore. Masterpiece in my opinion. It's definitely worth the hype. I just can't believe that it took me so long to test it, and that is Coromandel from Chanel. I'm actually wearing it today. How can I describe how beautiful this fragrance is? This is for patchouli lovers, and I'm not a patchouli lover, to be honest, but this fragrance is amazing. It will make you like fall in love with patchouli. Unless you are like a patchouli hater, I would say you would love this one. A must-have for anyone who loves patchouli. It's kind of this chocolatey patchouli. It actually has white chocolate in the notes, and it has like a smoky touch because there is incense. You get it more in the dry down. Again, the sillage is beautiful. 2 fragrances this episode just are the most intoxicating, beautiful sillage I've ever smelled. Cidra Boisée and this one. It's fresh. I would say it's actually all year round suitable, but more of a summer fragrance because it is more on the fresh side. And the best way I can describe this fragrance is that it is mystical. It's a mystical fragrance to me. Just gorgeous. And it is a unisex fragrance, but it does lean to the masculine side. However, I would say if you are a woman, just don't ignore the fragrance. Test it on yourself and also test it on someone else, because it's one of the fragrances that you will appreciate more when you see what other people smell off of you, so the sillage. And although I say it's leaning masculine, and I said I'm not going to get this fragrance because it's too masculine for me, every time, at the end of the day or next day, if I spray it on clothes, I'm like, oh, this is so beautiful. What is this fragrance? What did I wear? I need this fragrance, and it's almost Coromandel. So I changed my mind. Although it does lean masculine, but there is something about it. I will have this fragrance on my wish list, but I'm not willing to pay that amount of money, to be honest, because I'm not going to wear this fragrance a lot. So it's just an amazing scent overall. Highly, highly, highly recommended. So two beautiful sillage. Cedra Boisé has to me an intoxicating sillage, and this one has a mystical sillage. Anyway, I love both of them. Both are wins in my book and are definitely worth the hype for sure. And that was it. These were my thoughts, or my final thoughts, on these hyped up niche fragrances. If you liked this video, please give it a thumb up and consider subscribing to my channel. Also, don't forget to hit the notification bell so you will get notified when I upload any new video. Tell me in the comments down below what is your opinion about these fragrances, and tell me what other hyped up fragrances you want me to test next. Thanks a lot for watching, and see you next time. Ciao!